Okay. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our stream. This is Gwen here. We're getting ready to jump into our second part of the Flame AMA. So if you have any questions, you can ask them towards the end. We do have a few set questions to ask here and now. So let's bring in our guests. All right. So to start off our AMA, we're going to have each of you introduce yourself. We need a name and where you play and what path of the flame are you currently working on. And anyone can start.
Okay. I'm Cassandra, most known as Momo, out of SM. Yeah. Mostly of the part of the flame and whatnot is the service. That was it, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead, ladies.
I'm Candy. Everybody knows me as Boo Rose. I play out of DFE, and I'm going for my service belt.
I'm Kasira. I play at a Greenwood Keep. I have an echo, so I might pause weirdly. And I'm on the Smith path.
Konnichiwa. I'm Chiba. I play out at the Hollow. And I got a whole bunch of Smiths and whatnot, I guess.
Yeah, just a whole bunch. It's fine. Awesome. Well, thank you, all four of you, for joining us today as our guests. We definitely appreciate it. Let's see. Second question. Are any of you in a knightly family or under like a nobility title for any sort of belts, like squires, men-at-arms, pages?
Yeah, a bunch of those. Yeah.
I'm a squire to Rusty. I believe it's a knightly belt. Knightly line.
I'm a squire under Lady Mom.
I actually have two. I am at arms under Bad Wolf and a squire under Samantha Morales.
I'm squire to Sir Warbird, formerly of the Rising Winds. He's the formerly, unfortunately.
Awesome. Kasira, you're one of the few rare people who take two belts. That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I started under Bad Wolf. I got offered the squire belt, and they just kind of worked it.
Cool. Awesome. All right. So let's talk about the early years of Amtgard and what you four did to start down the service path. So thinking about your first Rose, your first Smith, or your first Lion, what did you guys do to get noticed and kind of start that journey?
Oof.
I know for some of us, it's a long time to think back.
Ironically enough, I've been in the game for probably off and on since '97, and I didn't start getting recognized for awards until probably about a couple years ago. And it's kind of kept doing normal things of what I would normally do. Something needs to be done, I do it.
I'm the same way. If it looked like it needed to be done, I did it.
Yeah, that's how I got started as well. But I really I found a niche and I wrote it as long and hard as I could. I What I wanted most in this game was to have more people to play with, and running demos is how you get that. And it's a lot of hard work, and the only people who thank you are the new people. Except they start throwing these fucking awards at you. So uh, double win there. Not only did I get what I wanted, a whole bunch of new people to play with, they also gave me a bunch of awards. So I guess it's not selfless service there.
I have experience in other LARP games. I've played like DR. I used to do Vampire the Masquerade. I'm sorry. this echo is terrible. I did Vampire the Masquerade, and I helped run a lot of those LARPs. And I brought some of the concepts from there across to Amtgard quests, and it resulted in kind of new quest concept for people, which worked out really well. And that's what put me on the Smith path.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. So what really drives your passion for service in Amtgard?
Being a glutton for punishment. uh, I'm not really sure what drives me. It just, again, it just I see something that needs to be done, and I want to see the game like expand and progress and better. So I just kind of do what I can to help.
Seeing people have fun is a big part of it.
Yeah.
And knowing that you cause that fun.
My biggest thing is just seeing the smiles on everybody's faces.
There's a old Japanese saying, the way of the samurai is in service. And I guess I kind of just started doing that because I was flirting. But it turns out that there's a universal law that all humans comply to, that in service we really find ourselves. So it just started off as something fun to do, but then I quickly discovered that the purpose of service is the service itself. The growth it brings me, the capacity to think of more than just myself, be able to, like everybody else said here, just see the joy that is being brought to people by putting them before yourself.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. Let's see. So taking a step further, I know that in this exact moment that there's a pandemic going on and that it's kind of hard to do anything in person to serve our community that is Amtgard. So if you are doing something right now to kind of foster service, I'd love to hear about it. But in the past, like, what are things that you have been doing to bring in others into the service path, or to just kind of keep yourself working on that like service mindset of like, I've got to move forward. We got to get these things going. So what are you guys doing at your local parks to really foster service?
Personally, I'm a fan of one-on-one. I'm not trying to save the world, but there's a number of people I can save. You know what I'm saying? So I've been helping people uh, stay sane through this, and uh, you know, everybody in the world is practicing their crafting skills right now. Literally everyone on the planet.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a big part of what I'm doing to help. Is I've got all that experience. The least I can do is help.
I ask people what they need or would like to do and help them with what they are working on as much as I can, anyway.
Kind of the same thing. Asking people if they have stuff to work on, I can help with what I can. Um, as the current monarch of SM right now, it's been really difficult because I'm trying to get like videos and that type of stuff out there. It's just it's hard to do something if you don't know what people want.
Mm.
I haven't quite asked to the kingdom yet, which I probably will soon. But I know people are going stir crazy at home. I definitely appreciate all the people who have been posting up stuff. It's great. Uh, I technically don't really like being on camera, so this is kind of new for me, but it may change now. um, I know I could be doing better than what I have been so far.
Um, I haven't done much during this current situation because we're not necessarily playing a lot of games. But in the past, I've helped with reviewing quests that other people put together, look for loopholes and places where people just get stuck.
All right, thank you guys. Let's see. Um, what would you say are some of your strengths and weaknesses when it comes towards serving an Amtgard? Now, service is a super broad thing. You can either have, you can be working in a kitchen, you can be running battle games, you can be picking up trash, you can be doing gate shift, setting up battle games. There's so many things that are happening around Amtgard that revolves around a lot of service. So what are something that you guys are really good at and something that you're not so good at that you'd like to be better at?
Well, I just grab one at a time. No, just bring one.
So I think, at least I like to think, some of my strengths and whatnot is um, just kind of working by myself and just like again seeing something that needs to be done and doing it. I've done like gate stuff, or was a gate crat, was a kitchen crat, and so I know I can do this stuff as long as I can do it on my own, somewhat. I think one of my biggest weaknesses is peopling. Uh, like trying to reach out to people and whatnot. It's very nerve wracking. Um, but I guess I try to do the best I can.
I like cooking. If there's a kitchen cat, I'm right there. Hey, can I help? Um, I love being in the kitchen. Um, I have been tavern games. I've done tavern games a couple times now. Um, and I enjoy it. I have fun with that. Uh, my weakness, public speaking. Don't like that.
I think one of my strengths is being able to plan, kind of getting things on paper, but also understanding that things have to change sometimes. You can make an awesome quest, and then when you put people in it, they do things you never expect, and being able to roll with that is super important. Or sometimes you build a battle game and it doesn't go quite the way you expect it to, but you can make some tweaks and run it again, and it'll be way better. One of my biggest weaknesses is being bad at asking for help. I have a tendency to want to try to do it all by myself, and that ends up just not great most of the time.
Yeah, I have the same weakness everybody else. Well, I guess in this game has, and that's everybody else. You know, it seems to be a common theme in Amtgard that we're all weird and we've all been bitten and burned along the way, so we're all a bit nervous about everybody else. But like at some point, I realized that that was also my strength, and I didn't know that that was a thing that I could do until like you guys said, "Hey, Chiba, you're actually pretty good with people." I'm like, oh, surprise. So, uh, I would say that the my greatest strength here would be the wisdom to recognize when you guys point out to me what it is I really can do. But it's also my biggest weakness. You guys freak me out.
Awesome. I really like how there's kind of this similar theme between all of you, where like, asking for help is kind of hard, because I feel like I myself even experienced that, where it's like, I want to run something, or do something, but I am so, me personally, I'm so controlling that I don't like asking for help, because I'm like, no, if it's not exactly right, then then I'm going to be mad at myself. So I have a hard time asking for help and accepting that, like how Kasira said, that like things do change, and that expecting the unexpected is, gonna happen, and it's good. So definitely a big fault of my own as well. Let's see. Really big question here. I feel like this is something that almost everybody experiences, whether they're a fighter, a crafter, service, just playing Amtgard in general. But how do you guys deal with burnout when you're working in the service path? Because as we all know, service is something that isn't always fun, and you're not always recognized for what you do, or maybe you're not recognized enough, and burnout can happen very quickly. So what do you guys do personally to manage burnout?
Personally, I kind of took about a 3 or 4 year hiatus from the game. Like I said, with back in '97, I used to bring, like when the dollar cheeseburgers from McDonald's were a thing. I would go out, get $30 worth of cheeseburgers, bring them to the field, just to pass out so people had food. Um, but then when you see other people kind of getting recognized for like bringing or doing
Water.
something very, very simple, and then you're just kind of off on the wayside, yeah, it tends to get a little annoying. So I had actually taken a hiatus for a few years and just kind of did my own thing. Then I kind of missed the people, uh, ironically enough. So came back and just started kind of doing stuff again, and stopped caring about the awards, stopped caring about being recognized, and just did it because I wanted to do it.
I'll kind of echo that. Like, this is the worst path if you just want the awards, because a lot of times they won't show up. So if you're on this path, you're doing it because this is what you care about, what you love doing, and you have to use that to pull yourself through. You also need to learn that saying no is okay. Sometimes you won't have the time or just the mental bandwidth to do something, and saying no is okay. And if you feel guilty saying no, you can say, I don't have time to do this right now, but if you want me to look over your plan, I can help with that. So you can help in smaller ways if you're not really comfortable just saying no, but you can't do it right now.
I try to refocus on something else, like my arts and crafts. Focus on that for a while, and then go back to. I mostly volunteered, like at camp outs, um, for the service part. So I'm not really burnt out on really anything at the moment. I can't hear you. Can't hear him.
Oh, here we go.
There we go.
Say Chibo's on mute.
Yeah, sorry. Forgive me if I get like super real here for a second, but as far as burnout is concerned, like healthy, neurotypical, emotionally balanced people don't have burnout. Burnout, as far as I can tell, this is my perspective, take it or leave it, is symptomatic of being a bit manic depressive. We get into a burnout phase because we are driven by the last depression. To do better, to be stronger, to be faster, to do it better. And we go as far as that mania will take us. But mania always falls. Pendulum always swings. And next thing you know, we're tired again. We can't get out of bed and we don't know why. We just went too far. The cycle for some people always does this, and it's not a problem. It's not wrong. It's just how some people are. And the trick is you don't push either side too far. If you don't want to burn out, don't drive yourself too far. And then when you get sad, let yourself be sad, but don't get too sad. You just do this a little bit of swaying back and forth. And there's actually some stuff you can do in your life to help prevent your back and forth cycle from getting out of hand. Of course, you want to make sure you get plenty of rest. When you get into a mania state, you tend to not sleep enough. That just makes it worse. So make sure you get plenty of sleep. Make sure your diet's nice and good. This is going to sound a little hokey, but it turns out the same part of your brain that's responsible for maintaining your emotional balance is responsible for maintaining your physical balance. So balance. Like this is one of the things yoga does well for you, is it makes you balance on one foot. And your brain gets better at balancing physically, and it gets better at balancing emotionally at the same time. You know those curbs. Remember when you were 10 and you'd see a curb and you'd just walk along it and play balance along it? Keep doing that. These small acts of play are the sort of things that'll help keep you from swinging into yet another manic phase where you're somewhat useful, yes, and valuable, and people will award you and make you feel better and validate the oncoming depression. But if you go too far, you're just going to wreck yourself and you're not going to be useful to anyone. So chill is my advice in a nutshell.
That's actually really, really good advice.
Awesome. Yeah, I personally have never taken a huge break from Amtgard. I think my longest time away was like a 2-month span. So I know for me personally, like with this like whole like all of us being forced to stay home kind of thing and not go to Amtgard because all the parks are closed and all this stuff, like it's been weird, but also like for me personally, it's been kind of like a refresher. Like I'm so excited to go back and play Amtgard because there's definitely been some times where it almost becomes like a job where you go every Saturday or Sunday and you're there and you're there from like 11:30 if you're really early like me all the time, and then you're there till like 4 o'clock, and it's like it's almost feels like a job sometimes. And so definitely taking a step back and relaxing for a little bit is really nice. But now I'm probably about as excited to go back to Amtgard as I was when I was like a brand new player. I'm so excited to go out and fight and like, I don't know. I would craft, but I don't really craft right now. But like anything, like just doing anything would be great. So I think for right now, for a lot of players, this particular being forced to stay away from the park is really good to deal with burnout periods as well. Gives you the time to balance and do other things. Let's see. So we're going to talk about the 3 different paths that lead to a person's flame belt in theory. So the 3 paths are Lion, Rose, and Smith. So I know some of you are higher leveled in some of these paths than others, so you don't have to necessarily speak on all of them. But I would love to hear your perceptions on what you think equals Order of the Lion, what equals an Order of the Rose, and what equals an Order of the Smith, because there are some times when people get a rose for doing something that they might have thought was a lion award instead. And I think a lot of players can become confused by that. So I'd love to hear your thoughts as to what things you would say match those paths and what don't.
Yeah, as far as lines go, I think I've been doing this game since like the mid '90s, and I'm still not sure what the answer to that question is. Because I don't think the game really even knows what the answer to that question is. It's basically like, okay, well, we're not really sure, and you're really working hard, so here you go.
I think the only one I know for sure of, well, I think there's a couple. Smith is more of like, um, almost kind of like creating stuff, like battle games and, um, uh, okay, mostly I think it's just battle games. Rose is more towards like anything else service. Um, yeah, it's not really very clear.
The way I look at it is Smith is about facilitating the game of Amtgard. So it's battle games, quests, and you get some teaching that falls into there. Roses are more about service to the club. So you get more helping with feasts, picking up trash is a lot of low level rose stuff, just kind of helping with the running of the club from that standpoint as opposed to the actual gameplay of Amtgard. And then Lions, I don't think they're supposed to, but they kind of fill the gap when people can't figure out what to give.
Roses, Smith, not service. Smith, helping with battle games and things like that. Lion, to me, it's more like the leadership, uh, like being in Monarch and things like that. That's about it.
Awesome. I know for me, I've definitely felt that some of my roses have been given in addition to like, because I've done like all A, B, C, and D, and they're like, well, she's done all these things. Let's just give her another rose rather than like separating it out like, oh, she could have qualified for that for a Smith, and the kid have qualified for that for like a Lion or whatever. And I know, like, for me personally, that's kind of frustrating because it's like I'm in like year 12 or whatever of playing Amtgard, and I have like 2 Orders of the Lion and 8 Roses when I know it should probably be like 5 Lions and like 4 Roses or something. I don't know. You know, it's just like they get, sometimes it's not as cut as dry as I would definitely like. What kind of advice would you guys have for monarchs who are getting ready to give out those kind of awards so that way they prevent themselves from doing a catch-all type award?
Research. Look at what they did, not what someone recommended. Look at, instead of just, oh, well, yeah, okay, agree with it and hand it out, do your research. Make sure they do deserve that for whatever was recommended. Don't just agree and pass it on.
In those times where I had the opportunity to hand out awards, my technique was not to make that determination from the perspective of the individuals, but to make that determination from the perspective of each award. So I put the specific award in front of me, read the definition, and thought, who did this? And then made a list of everyone who did that. And then went on to the next award. Who did this? And then made a list of everyone that I knew that did those things. And that helped me, particularly with giving out those stranger awards. And it also helped me overcome the basic human nature of like focusing on the people I know instead of the broader collection of people.
It's also monarchy as a team. Yes, a lot of the awards come from the monarch specifically, but that doesn't mean that like the regent and the champion and even the GMR can't have input. It may not be their wheelhouse, but they're a good double check to see what's most appropriate.
Kind of don't have an opinion on this one.
That's all right, Mo. You don't always need to give an answer. That's okay. Awesome. I think that's some good advice, especially like really researching the award. I definitely feel like there's sometimes where an award recommendation gets put in and they don't really look into it, or they're not looking for exactly like, does that award they recommended match what they actually did, you know? So I think research is a really good point. And then going down the list of all the awards and figuring out like, what do they mean? And did anybody do these things that might not have been caught right away? So that's great. Let's see. For those of you who have worked at a camp out in a position of some sort, so like feastocrat, warocrat, gatocrat, maybe you were the autocrat, how do you suggest to players who are interested in getting into those positions, how do they get started and really jump into that?
That person is probably overwhelmed and will definitely say yes if you say, "Can I help?" Well, maybe not definitely, but you have a really good chance. Be available and do that hard, grunty work because someone's got to do it. And if you're doing it for the autocrat or gamocrat or feastocrat, then you're going to learn how to do it, and 2, they're going to recognize that you're there and start leaning on you. And next thing you know, you're the autocrat because they got sick or whatever.
So, my I guess one of the crat thingies and whatnot that I did that was very, very overwhelming because I'd never done it was the gate crat. Um, I it was for the NLCC, the last fall one. Yeah, one of the ones. Um, I was asked to be the crat, and without actually thinking about it, I said, "Sure, why not?" Dove into it, and all of a sudden, I'm like, "What the heck am I doing?" Um, Luckily, it was had help from Buckner and Iris. They I kind of went to them and say, "Hey, I have questions," um, and they helped out a lot. So I was able to kind of get into my own little groove and figure out stuff for it. Um, I think it was one of the two. I don't remember which one I actually specifically talked to, but I actually asked them if it was basically compared to what a land level PM job would be for Gate, and they're like, yeah. So once I got that in my head, um, it was a lot easier to figure out stuff as far as like the paperwork and um, what I all needed for to get set up for it. It was fun. Don't want to do it again.
I really haven't been in a crat position, but I have helped out with multiple um, campouts. My husband is always involved in campouts, and I'm right there next to him. If somebody needs something, I go get it. Just be there.
If you want to be on a team that's putting together a camp out, talk to people that do that a lot. Become friends with them, or even just like casual acquaintances. If they know who you are, they're more likely to say, "Hey, come help." So sometimes it can be really difficult, but getting out there and talking to people is a huge thing.
Oh yeah.
Yay, peopling.
It's so hard.
Yeah, a little bit.
Awesome. Great points. Um, for those of you who have been in a crap position, was there anything that like you're getting ready, you're preparing for the event? Have you ever had like an extra job thrown on top of you that you like didn't expect or didn't really know what to do with when it came towards that position?
Yeah, that's pretty much just how it works. Like the first thing I learned about cratting is that your like well organized plan means shit. So like I just don't even bother with that anymore. I have a basic idea, and I make sure all the fine points are like dealt with. But most of the part, I'm just prepping myself for the fire because that's the important. Most of the stuff, people know what they're supposed to do. You point the new guys in the general right direction, and then wait for the fire. Yeah.
Uh, I did a round as co-warcrat. We planned quite a bit. We had our schedule for battle games, and we just kind of accepted that we might lose the last one on each day. And it kind of allowed us to stay on a schedule, pack in a ton of battle games, but then you stick whatever you think your weakest game is the end, and then you're just okay if you don't get to play with it. So again, it's kind of that plan, but understand, but it might go out the window, and be okay with that part.
I think for the most part, the two crat things that I've done, I got lucky. So not a whole lot of issues really came up. Not major issues, mostly minor type of things that would have been easily dealt with. Um, so I don't really have a whole heck of a lot to say on that one, other than I was lucky.
Awesome. Okay. So while we're talking about events, so thinking about kingdom level events and campouts, or maybe you're having a really big land level event like a quest or something. Um, how much time are each of you spending in some sort of service role, whether it's like you're actually running the games or maybe you're reaving, assisting? Like, how much of your day when you come to Amtgard do you spend doing some sort of service aspect?
I'm always walking around picking up stuff and helping other people.
Yeah, exactly. You're just kind of always a little bit on, and when you look around and you see there's a need suddenly, you just slip into it.
Yeah, I kind of agree with Chiba. I know when I was up at the Hollow for a bit, there's probably some more things I could have done. Like probably stepped more into like a reaving type of aspect. It's just one of those things of it's for me it's difficult to call people on their shit, honestly, for the most part. Because I don't want to have to deal with all the, uh, I guess the backdraft of that, for lack of better words. Um, but I think I do most of my service type of stuff with campouts because I know they're big events, or big happenings. There are a lot of people, so there's always a lot of stuff to do. But land level, I may step in and do something. I may not. I might just more or less just hang out.
If it's a day I'm running a quest, that's what I'm doing that day. Um, it's going to be organizing at the beginning, running the quest, and then making sure everything's together for the wrap up. And I'm probably not going to be doing anything else. Um, other days, if there's like a lull in battle games, occasionally I will step in and run stuff. Recently, I've been in kind of a burnout phase, so I've not been doing that as much, but it is something I've done in the past. Um, and then, like when I've been in office, when I was champion, I worked with my monarchs, so I was running every other. I'm sorry, this was terrible. I was running every other game, which allowed both of us to play and kind of enjoy the game still. So it really helped with being able to participate and kind of compartmentalize of I am working now and I'm playing now.
Yeah, it's really important to always be playing. It, service is one thing, but if you're not playing and having fun, you're doing Amtgard wrong, basically.
I think service is fun.
Yeah, for the most part.
For me, anyway.
Awesome, you guys.
I mean, service is pretty. It can be pretty fun, but then you get the people who obviously don't appreciate what you do, and they have a lot to say about it, and uh, that part gets a little
Yeah.
mind numbing.
Hmm.
The thankless job.
Very much.
All right. Let's see. Let's move on to people who kind of have influenced you guys. Whenever you're like thinking about the future or you're coming up with a new idea, uh, it can be one person or it can be multiple people. Who do you turn to as kind of like a mentor to try to increase your knowledge or even just to push your ideas around with? Who do you guys look to for those kind of things?
There's actually a couple people that I turn to. Um, if I have somewhat of an idea and whatnot, I'll kind of push it around my Squire sister Jamie. Um, and then if I want to get more knowledge and whatnot, here's where I get in trouble for making my night cry. Um, I usually talk to Lady Mom about it and try to get more info and that type of stuff. She's actually one of my mentors in this game.
I have quite a few actually. I lean on Thornessa, Rusty. If I have questions about battle games or how to make swords or something, I ask my husband Rune, um, my nephew Kenneth, or Boris. Uh, I ask a lot of people for their advice and their help. I don't like asking help a lot of times, but there are ones that are always there. Um, with service, I mostly ask either Lady Mom or Thornessa.
I've never been very good at getting advice and help from people who know better than I do. It's like a lifelong problem. Like one of the things Warburg told me when he squired me was one of the reasons he squired me is because I really didn't need that much attention. I could just do it myself. But I have found that the best advice and uh, the people I really enjoy bouncing my ideas off the most are the new people, like the people who are freshest in the game, because they don't have the box yet. The longer people are in this game, the more boxed they get. We're told this is the way things are done, right? And a lot of times it's right, but not always. And the only way to know is to be able to kick the box around a little bit. And the new people, they don't have the box yet. So I really love like going to new people and say, "Hey, I had this crazy monster idea that is absolutely useless in a battle," and seeing their eyes glow when I describe the monster. The that's my favoriteest source of inspiration and wisdom is from the uh, those who don't know yet. Yeah.
Yeah, I find that I don't have necessarily a mentor in a traditional sense. For me, what's more important is to having that kind of support network that will go, yeah, you're doing good, keep going, we're behind you. So it's not necessarily a direction of like, hey, try this instead. It's that extra enthusiasm to keep you going. Um, Sam has been good for that. Bad Wolf got me through some times when I almost quit. Theo has been great for helping with quests and battle games. Um, Locals at my park, like Mason and Harris, are good for that. So it's just kind of surrounding yourself with people that are excited about what you're doing and help encourage you to keep doing it or tell you when you're going the wrong direction too.
Awesome. That's great. Do any of you have any advice that you would give to either a newer player or even a veteran player if they're really struggling with dipping their toes in service? Like, what kind of advice would you guys give to them?
Patience.
Have lots of patience and volunteer.
Just do it and know that it's okay to fall on your face.
There are
Uh,
people to help you pick you up.
this game is never going to be yourself or your source of validation. That has to come from within you. And when you've got that, then the rest of it doesn't matter. You're just doing what brings you joy.
Yep.
Just do that.
Awesome. All right. Let's see. Next question. Is there something? So, like, let's imagine the future. You know, way down the road, and you're all gone. You don't play Amtgard anymore, or maybe you've left this realm for the next. What do you guys want to be remembered for when people look back and they talk about you? Like, what is the number one thing that you want to leave your mark on?
Being friendly.
That's actually a really hard question to answer. Um, I don't know. I guess for me it'd be um, to know that someone can come to me for uh, anything if it's within um, my wheelhouse, I guess. Um, yeah, that's a hard one.
I
A
think
lot of
kind of
them.
the stories that you can tell through quests, and it's not necessarily if they remember me specifically or that ran the thing, but when you have people that are like, "Oh, this one quest that was super cool, and I did these things," and I can stop and go, "Yeah, I ran that." I think that's really a neat thing.
Or having somebody go and go, oh, well, remember this? I remember this is what happened. It was so cool. And you hear these stories from other people, and you know that you're the one that did this.
There's nothing about a legacy that is self-perpetuating. At some point, the name will fade. But if you make the world a little more right, then that rightness will carry forward longer than your name ever could.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to write my legacy on the people I've touched. And even if they don't know that they can say my name when they do the good deed, it doesn't matter. I know I put them in that position and allowed them to be that better person, and that they're going to do the same thing going forward. That's really all the legacy a person really needs.
Awesome. So I have one more question, and then we're going to open up questions for our viewers. So viewers, if you're watching, please feel free to start typing up your questions and submitting them, and we'll get to them in a moment. So my last question is, looking back on your history in Amtgard, if you think of one moment where you did something service related that just kind of was like an aha moment, or it's your favorite thing that you've ever done to help benefit the game, what was that moment, and what did it make you feel like?
So when Star Wars Episode 1 came out, oh my God, that was a long time ago. Uh, I'd heard a dozen people in my career suggest that such movies would be a great place to run a demo. And I thought, hey, maybe I'll do it this time. So I put together that demo, and had one of the best times I had ever had standing in line for a movie in my entire life. Not only did I get to show people this thing I really love to do, I also got to bring some people into the game that are still playing today. Uh, I, uh, and I think that continues to be one of my favorite parts of running demos and whatnot, is seeing the people that you brought into the game do amazing things. Like the young lady who created our game's logo. I brought her into the game. I brought her. She came. She used to go to the Origins Gaming Convention in Columbus, Ohio, and when she was like 12, her parents dumped her off on us, and we put a sword in her hand, and she's been a vicious little Amazonian ever since then. It's those stories that I'm most proud of, and I love the most about what I do. And it's that first demo when this young lady who knew this Korean uh, kickboxing technique kept trying to kick me in my knees as we were fighting. Like these moments, these are the ones you can't ever forget, and I wouldn't trade anything for.
I wouldn't exactly say that my favorite memory is like a good memory, more of a learning type of thing. Uh, so at the Rosewood that shall not be named, uh, I was hoping uh, in the kitchen and whatnot for the feast that Lady Butterfly was doing, and just it was an exhausting type of situation. Um, Trying to get everything set up, everything cut up and prepped, and all sorts of things, um, so everyone can get fed. I, I think well, I don't think at the end of the night, where everything was all said and done, I had gone outside and I just started crying um, because of pure exhaustion um, and everything else. And I remember that only because it. Uh, well, one, because it was exhausting. Two is almost trying to figure out a way of how to make things better. Like what could have been done a little bit better to speed things along to where there wasn't so much going on. Um, Now, granted, I haven't gotten the courage yet to step into that role of the feastcrat. I'm not sure if I will. uh, but yeah, that was probably my the memory of holy crap, this is way overwhelming.
My favorite is we were playing Dagger Dodgeball, game I created, and everybody loved it. They were talking about it after weeks on end. And they keep asking, hey, when are we going to play Dagger Dodgeball? It's a good warm up. Don't use swords.
Okay.
You just throw things at each other. And it is fun as hell. Even my little ones get out and play it. And there's so many of them that came, passer buyers, stop and watch and laugh. And it's the pure joy of seeing everybody enjoying themselves on playing something you created. I love it.
So I have a lot of quests that had a lot of really good memories in them. But if we're going to go for kind of aha moments, the very first quest I ran in Amtgard, I sent people into the woods to collect towels from goblins. And there was a whole lot of organic role play that happened and some really entertaining scenes. And one of the best moments was when one of the players ran past me and opened their tunic and showed me that one of the quest items that had been collected and removed, they were bringing back into the field because they didn't want the quest to end. And that was just this moment of like, I can do this. I can run quests and people will enjoy them. So that was kind of that aha moment of like, this is a good direction to go.
That's really awesome. I love it. I love all the excitement that you guys have about those memories. And even if all of them weren't great memories, maybe they were learning memories, that's awesome too. Like, I've made so many mistakes myself, like in the years of, doing service towards the game, and being able to remember those and take those learning moments. It's great. Those are things that stay with you forever. Let's see. So, first question from our viewers. Our first question is from Galleria. She says, "What do you do when you have to work alongside someone that you may not see eye to eye with? We are all different in Amtgard, and to go along with this, why do you believe it's important to overcome differences in personality?"
Yeah, there's no easy answer to that one. That's for sure. But I sum it up in by just saying that shit's got to be said. If it's sitting inside you, it's just going to sit there and fester and get gross, and you're never going to be able to play the same game with them. And eventually, one of you is going to have to leave. And I don't want that. More people is more fun. So shit's got to be said. And it's not easy, and it's not great, and it doesn't actually solve the problem, but it keeps it from getting worse.
Try to work together. That's the main thing, is try to work together. It doesn't matter how different you are. Doesn't matter if you don't see eye to eye. Work together. It's supposed to be a team. There's no I in team.
I think figuring out what points you just will not budge on is important, and it can't be everything. Like, these are the 2 or 3 core items that I am going to stick with, and then the rest of it, look at where you can compromise. It makes it a lot easier if you kind of have that in mind ahead of time than if you're trying to figure it out as you go and kind of figure out where you're willing to give and where you really need to stick to your principles.
See, it kind of depends on the situation for me. But mostly it's pretty much putting aside personal bias and doing what's best for the game, not for what's best for you. Because you basically out there to make sure everyone else has fun and whatnot. So yeah, there is a lot of compromise that happens. Yeah, I guess I'm not much of a talky type person.
Get some alcohol.
I think you all had really great answers to that. I know it definitely can be hard to work alongside someone that you don't always agree with. But again, like how you said, like, it's about the game, it's about service, benefiting the game and taking away your own personal ideals and kind of pushing forward for what's best for your group, your land, your kingdom, whatever it is. As long as you guys have that same common ideal set, I think two very different people can always conquer anything that's set forth in front of them. So next question is from Heron. What first sparked your interest in the path you're on?
Helping other people. I love to help other people, and being available brings me joy.
For me, it wasn't really what sparked me on the path. It's I just started doing stuff and whatnot, and next thing I know, I found out, oh, hey, this is what that path could be. I'm like, all right, cool. That at least is for the flame, the service path. The other path that I'm trying to go for is serpent, which is the crafty type of things. That one is because I enjoy making stuff. Um, so that kind of sparked me on that one. Um, yeah.
As I touched on briefly earlier, my service path started when I read the wrong book, basically. Book of Five Rings by Musashi Miyamoto. It's probably the flurbiest thing I'm going to say in this whole thing, but started doing the whole samurai thing, and I started reading a bunch of samurai stuff, and every single one of them kept saying the same thing, that if you're not serving someone, you ain't nothing. So, and I wasn't serving anybody. So I decided I'd give it a shot, and it turned out that it's right. It's right. It's a real thing. It's a real thing that in serving others, you really do find yourself in a way that you can't otherwise, just serving yourself.
Like I said early, I came from a LARP background that had a lot more roleplay in it. And Greenwood Keep is pretty willing to roleplay, so that was kind of a great place to do that. And quests are one of the places that can come out, so that kind of being able to bring stories for people to play through was really what kind of started me like, okay, I can make quests and people seem to have a blast doing them, so let's keep doing that.
Awesome. Okay, so next question is also from Heron, and it says, "What is your big pie in the sky dream event, quest, or service project that you'd like to do one day?"
I haven't really thought of that.
Yeah, me neither.
Oh, I have. I know exactly what I would do. Okay, so two best events I've ever experienced in the game of Amtgard are Discord and Keep on the Borderlands. And the things that they have in common are, one, a really interesting, engaging storyline that goes through the whole weekend, and two, a castle. And of course, I do this whole Japanese Asian thing. So, and uh, back in the Rising Winds, I used to run an event called the War of Ngoku, which is it was a Flurby 24-hour role play event with a. Anyway. If I could do that with a castle, that is what I want to do. A huge people. I used fireworks and explosives for my events, and I'm not going to go into details. It's going to be like a year before anyone could do any kind of Amtgard, and I don't want to get anybody salivating for my dream. But oh yeah, I've got one. I've got one.
I've got sort of some tentative plans for putting together a household that's focused on running quests and supporting quests. Potentially also doing some focus on battle games as well, but the original was focused all on quests and doing what we can to make those as good as possible.
Awesome. Chiva, I definitely feel like I would go to that event. I mean, you're talking about like fireworks and stuff. That sounds crazy. So, let's see. Next question is from Rune Silver. And he says, what would you do if you were knighted? What would become your next path, essentially? So if you got knighted, or let's say even masterhood for the path that you were currently most heavily focused on, what would you do next?
Probably serpent. Working on getting some garb and crafty type stuff done.
Probably the same. There's only like a couple paths that I'm actually trying for, and that's flame and serpent. Um, there's one path that I will not go for, which is crown. In fact, at this point, me being a non-fighter, would probably be end up getting a fighter path faster than I would get crown. Um, but I would still end up doing the same stuff I'm doing now as if I end up getting the flame path or the flame belt, um, and just kind of keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, I'll be honest, it's been like 10 years since I really strove to get any of the anythings. Uh, my knight said, "Don't worry about it. Just be a knight, and they'll figure it out at some point." So just keep on keeping on. I'm doing what I want to do and helping people as best as I can, and I'm not really worried about the path or whatever. The path is irrelevant. When they notice, they notice. Until then, you just be who you are.
I'm pretty similar. I don't tend to do things with the idea that I'm doing this to get an award. I wouldn't say I'm necessarily actively pursuing a path either. It's just what I do tends to put me in that direction. I've got 5 garbers because I make garb when I need it. I've got, I think, 5 roses because I've jumped in to help with things. I also don't see knighthood necessarily as an endpoint. That's kind of just a new beginning where you're now there to help the next generation coming through, to be a leader and a role model of what people should strive for. So you really need to keep doing what got you there if once you become a knight.
Awesome. Great answers, everyone. So I like this next question. And it says, do you feel that the service path interconnects with the other paths and vice versa? So I'm guessing that they mean like the other types of like ladder awards. So let's start with crown. Do you guys believe that like the crown path is connected or interconnects or kind of weaves through the service path at all?
I mean, obviously, it's the ultimate expression of service. Frankly, uh, no one gets more shit piled on them than the person in charge, and
Yep.
that's just part of the job, and that's part of being in an organization, and someone's got to do it. Uh, you know, think of Crown as like Super Rose in that regard.
I think
I agree
sometimes
with
the
him.
difference between a rose and a crown is whether you're wearing the pointy hat at the time.
Um, yeah, for the most part, I think like at least the service path and whatnot does kind of intertwine with just about all of them. Because I mean, whether you're crafting stuff or being a monarch or um, creating battle games or whatnot, it's still doing what's best for the club and progressing the club. So yeah, it pretty much intertwines with all of them.
I agree.
So looking at the viewpoint from like, let's say, the sword path, what, how would you say that intertwines with the service path?
If you're reaving and running tournaments, you're doing service that is connected directly to the sword path, especially if you use it as a way to further your own abilities with the sword, as reaving and learning to read people's moves and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, many of the best tournament runners I've ever seen were fighters, top level fighters who were sick of bad tournaments. So they just ran it themselves.
Kitty tail.
Awesome. And then talking about like the serpent path, how does like the serpent path and the service path kind of become intertwined?
Well, you can always teach someone or help someone with garb or with a project they're working on. You're learning, they're learning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's more individual service, on that path.
Make battle game props. Fill pillowcases with 22 pounds of rocks and don't tell anybody. It's great.
I think I remember that one at G-Walk. That one was rough. Awesome. Let's see. I posted up a last call for questions and I haven't seen anything else. I'm just going to wait one more moment. Do the four of you have any questions for each other? I know some of you are on the Rose Path, some of you are on the Lion, some of you are on Smith. Chiba's on all three. So do you guys have questions for each other at all that you'd like to have answered, or comments, or...
So every kingdom's different as far as the challenges go. What do you find in the Northern Lights is the challenges you face uh, in achieving your overarching goals here?
I think one thing is a lot of us tend to be really park bound. We don't like traveling very much. We don't go to the other parks super often. I mean, you have a handful of people that do a lot of traveling, and then you have others that just don't. And when you're trying to make quests and stuff for bigger groups, sometimes you advertise like crazy and you get nobody. I had a quest I planned for like 20 people, and I think I had 10. I made it work. It's one of the best quests I've ran, but it can be difficult when you can't get people to come do the things.
I think one of the most challenging things for me is, and I keep pushing myself to do it anyway, is the judgments from everybody. Um, like whatever you decide to actually do, there's always going to be someone that complains about it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is very frustrating. Um, but I guess for me, I just kind of push through it and say, well, lack of better terms, fuck it. I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah. My biggest stressful thing is talking to people. If I don't know them, I don't go up to them unless somebody goes, hey, check her out. If they don't come up to me, I'm a ghost. My biggest thing is to talk to people.
Awesome. Looks like we have one last question, and then we're going to call the video. So the question is from Sir Baelnorn, out from Blackspire. So the question is, how do you view masterhood and how do you view knighthood? Is masterhood just another step to knighthood, in your opinion?
No, they're two different things. The one requires the other, but that doesn't make them the same thing at all. Masterhood is about yourself. Knighthood is about everybody else.
Yeah, I agree.
Same.
Masterhood is saying that I can do this thing really well, where knighthood is about going above and beyond and kind of being, again, a great role model for what that thing you do is.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for being my guests today on our second part of the Flame AMA. I hope all of our viewers really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to do the next one. So thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, you guys.
Right.
I don't know how to.
All right. Well, again, thank you everyone for watching, submitting questions, and being involved with our Flame AMA Part 2. We might be able to do a third Flame AMA, depending on if I can get my last group to have a good schedule. We'll see. Otherwise, I'm going to be starting to reach out to some members of our community who are hitting over 7 or over for the sword path, so Orders of the Warrior. So once again, I'll post up a form and you guys can submit questions in advance if you'd like to have certain things asked for those players as well. And I'm looking forward to do the next one. We'll talk to you all soon. Thanks. Bye.